HEROQUEST is back, baby. We should probably talk about it.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all. It's time for another installment, another deeply thrilling installment of the Andy and Rem Show, episode 127. And as you can see from this beautifully crafted video thumbnail, HEROQUEST is back. Away goes the thumbnail, and here we are. Mr. Remington, nice of you to join us from your slightly less wide camera feed there. So I suggest that means there is no Remington PC yet. What's up with that?
Oh god, this shitty Windows update, man. Anyway, I've got this USB stick sent to me by a friend, and I'm supposed to relaunch Windows using this USB. I don't get it. I just need some time, man. You know, I painted one miniature though. I painted a witch elf with a big halberd, and it went well. So that's me. That's my life.
Well, that's good to know. I've been playing a bit of XCOM 2, actually, and I know that's a game you've got about 3,000 hours in, which is not an exaggeration, folks.
I love it. Great game.
It's nightmarishly difficult, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but you get very attached to your characters.
Yeah, on XCOM 1, I played it on normal difficulty on Iron Man mode. XCOM 2, I'm having to go without Iron Man mode because I'm having to reload 4 or 5 times per mission because it's so fiendish. All your soldiers just die so easily, and you can't you can't take your time that much because there's time limits on everything.
No, you have to buy time. You have to get the good weapons as soon as possible. Get some good armor and get the upgrades. Max out your team. Got to do that as early as possible, really, and then you're fine. That's what I found.
The spiciest news of the day. There was actually a countdown timer, HEROQUEST related, for the last couple of weeks or so. And today it finally reached 0. People were speculating that it could be some terrible mobile app that would have disappointed everyone. But no, it's actually a relaunch of the game itself, the board game, with miniatures and all sorts. So we're going to look at that right now. I assume with your highly advanced setup, you can actually what we're looking at here.
No, I can see what you're saying.
First of all,
was there only ever one HEROQUEST? Was there like a HEROQUEST 2 and a HEROQUEST 3?
I think there was expansions and advanced HEROQUEST and that kind of thing, but there was never just a HEROQUEST 2 that I know of. Except we will get to something interesting because we're going to look at a bit of a voyage into the recent history of people trying to relaunch HEROQUEST. First of all, we've got the cover art here, which is eerily similar to the cover art from the original. Now, let's see if I click the right one here to find it. Is it that one? Well, there's the old game contents. There we go. So there's the old box art, and you can see it's virtually the same. It's almost exactly the same, but with a difference in style. So you've got the barbarian, the dwarf, the wizard, and the elf. You'll also notice that in the old one, the elf is kind of tucked away at the back behind the barbarian's knee a little bit. Doesn't have much of a starring role. And of course, you've got Chaos Warriors there. However, in the new one, you'll see that the elf is higher up in a slightly more prominent position, although still partly obscured, not by the knee anymore. Also, the elf looks, dare we say, a lot more womanly now, which makes sense because back then, all the characters in these things tended to be men, didn't they?
The barbarian's head shrunk. How did he manage that?
it's much more stylized now. If you look at, I think there's a goblin there. The size of the head on that creature is very large. The monsters are a bit more cartoonish. The proportions are a bit more strange, shall we say?
So,
But
HeroQuest, right? I've just had $1 million idea.
is your $1 million idea to create HeroQuest because it already exists?
No, to recreate it, but in the past. ZeroQuest. The prequel.
When they were zeros rather than heroes.
Yes.
So when all the HeroQuest heroes were children, starting out on their adventures.
Well, not children, maybe, but maybe they were peasants or they were just skint. You know, maybe they didn't have the nice sword and the nice loincloth. Maybe he had short hair. I don't know. ZeroQuest.
Well, maybe ZeroQuest can be our next adventure after the Forest of Rem, and you can be the dungeon master for that one. Sounds like a great idea.
For losers.
Okay, let's have a look. So, there's a fancy pants video with it for anyone that wants to watch that. And we're not going to look at that right now because we don't want this video to get taken down.
Oh, come on, let's watch it. Talk is.
But you can see the gargoyle there in artwork form. Now this is their just launch page with the video on it, but they do have a full page here as well on the crowdfunding site that they're using. And it's currently almost halfway to $1 million.
It's crowdfunding? What? So it's not Games Workshop then?
It's not related to Games Workshop. The original game was partly Games Workshop. And I don't know what the deal is, whether Hasbro now own 100% rights to it and GW have nothing to do with it anymore. That seems to be the case. They've taken out all references to Chaos from it and replaced it with Dread. So no Chaos Warriors. No more
Dread Warriors.
Yeah, nothing else that could be GW's IP. And it's only available to be crowdfunded in North America at the moment.
That sucks.
So I'm sure it will be available elsewhere in the future, you would assume. But you can't get it on here from anywhere else yet.
That doesn't make sense. We invented fantasy. We invented the game. How could the Americans be so rude?
Well, you know what they're like.
Oh, I don't get that, man. I mean, look, it looks a bit like Silver Tower to me.
With your modern hat on there. Let's have a look at the contents. So, we'll have a look at the heroes and then we'll compare them to the heroes of old. So, there are your poses that you've got for your 4 heroes. And let's see if I get the right picture. That is here's the heroes. So these are the original heroes. Obviously these ones are painted. Now you might recognise this one on the right as being eerily similar to the original White Dwarf.
Right.
That's that. So obviously the new ones look much more fancy, spicy, succulent, tender and moist. Much more detailed.
Shouldn't the elf have a bow, at least? No? Okay.
I would assume there's a bow on the elf's back, perhaps.
Yes.
It's going crazy in the chat for this episode. We're right on the cutting edge here, because this was only announced a couple of hours ago.
Okay.
So there are your new heroes. Let's see if
the looks amazing.
Very fancy pants. And let's have a look. So the monsters, the gargoyle, which is of course that original, which is eerily similar again to the first Bloodthirster. Obviously that was the classic Chaos Warrior, and there was the evil wizard. So if you look at them now, the Dread Sorcerer, quite different. Gargoyle, I like the change to the gargoyle actually. The old one was slightly comical looking, a bit dog-like in the face. So I quite like this new gargoyle, that's alright. Dread Warriors, not Chaos Warriors anymore. Skeletons are still in there. Orcs. Goblins. So the proportions are very weird. Goblin heads are huge, orc heads are tiny.
Oh, I know those goblins, they look kind of cool.
They're very stylized though, aren't they? Very different. Then we've got mummies, zombies, That mummy looks like something straight out of a comic, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Oh, they look cool.
And they've got abominations, which are effectively fish people. There used to be Famirs in the game, but of course they're another GW piece of work. So they've been replaced by the abomination fishmen now.
Yeah, they look pretty handy.
Then doors. So all the old stuff was card. I think there was some certain parts were card and other parts were plastic that like rested on top of the card. So I think there was like a plastic top to go on top of the card sides to the table, for instance. But now it's all nice, fully 3D, spicy, detailed, including the classic weapons rack, which looks very similar to the old weapons rack. I think it's pretty much a recreation of all the terrain pieces with a painstaking amount of detail, as Mr. Remington's camera shuts down temporarily.
No, I'm still here. Don't worry.
He's still with us, he's just invisible for now. So we've got tables, we've got bookcases, cupboards, classic treasure chests, throne, fireplace, bench, rats and skulls, classic stuff, and the mythic tier. So they've got the expansions prepared already. And looks, I think that's exactly the same as the original expansion, so I would assume they're just recreating the whole game.
What's the expansion? Is it more like counters and like scenery?
Return of the Witch Lord here. So you get a couple of extra little rooms there.
Right.
And you get a lot of undead stuff in there.
Looks like you just get more of the same.
I think pretty much. And you get some extra doors as well. Look at that. An iron door and a reinforced door. You can't argue with that. That's some spicy content on it. And then Keller's Keep, which again, not sure if that has any different monsters in it. But it's another expansion. And some unlocks as well. So extra heroes, a warlock, extra dice, extra skeletons, extra goblins, quest book. And then there's just some stuff about the designers there. Which I'm sure is a very interesting read, but that's text, and we don't care about that on this show. Except when I'm reading it out loud. And everybody cares. So,
do you want it?
That. Do I want it? I don't know. If we look at the old HeroQuest, does it really blow this out the water, the new one?
Let me rephrase that. Do you want it if it's free?
If they were going to send me one for free, then I'd take it. But I wouldn't be able to promise them any kind of extensive video coverage for it, so I don't think they would send me one. But the original, I had the original, classic, and comically, my parents threw it away because the box got a bit wet.
So run me through a game of HeroQuest. You choose a character, you're in a dungeon, and you encounter monsters.
Yes.
And you have to kill them. And if you kill them, you get a bit of treasure.
You'll find little bits of treasure all over the place, but you have 4 different classes. The fighting mechanics are quite simple. You've got your little dice with different symbols on. One symbol is good, one symbol's evil. And you roll dice to move, actually, as well. Which I believe is still in there. I think they've kept it entirely faithful to the original, just pretty much a redesign of all the miniatures.
Oh, care for jelly babies just unsubbed. What WTF? I'm being explained what a dungeon crawl is.
Well, that's Remington for you.
Sorry, Annie. I'm losing you viewers, you know.
Well, he was going to unsubscribe when he saw next week's show anyway, if he didn't unsubscribe now.
How rude of him, but at least he's honest. I mean, I don't know, maybe some people don't know what a dungeon crawl is, man. Know it all. You know what I mean? I bet you don't know what a C major 7th is, right? I've missed it. I forgot your name already. Anyway, sorry.
So, original, classic. New one. I'm not sure about the style of it, but they've even laid it out in a very similar manner. Let's have a look. Is that exactly the same? very close, isn't it? They've even got the components in pretty much the same place. So they're definitely appealing to nostalgia, but it's got a look that may turn off some people, and I've already seen scathing criticism online about the art style and the direction it's taken.
So, and it looks a bit like it's made for children. What do you think about that?
That is a case that could potentially be made. One comment I saw on one of the Facebook posts for this said something to the effect of, it looks like one of those terrible mobile like app games with big cartoon goblin heads. So there will be a bit of division down the community, I think, when it comes to the art style for this.
So what I like is a mechanic where I'm able to sort of like, if you're, let's say I'm the wizard and you're the barbarian, can I hinder you, or do we always have to help each other?
I think we pretty much help each other. There's an interesting point actually in the chat. Void Captain Bazooka says HeroQuest was made for children, lol. Which is true, but the style is definitely more gritty on the old one.
Okay, so Hasbro are coming with this. What are Games Workshop said?
Right. I assume Games Workshop are not involved in this anymore.
Yeah, but that's supposed to be a lead into the next bit where you show us, Games Workshop stuff now.
You're assuming that we've got GW stuff to look at. What we're actually going to look at next is the previous attempt that someone made to relaunch HeroQuest, which, thanks to the Internet Web Archive, we can see when this was a thing, this website, this Kickstarter page, because it's been taken down now. But looking at the past of the internet, this actually, look at that funding, it reached over $500,000, way past its original requirements. The HeroQuest 25th anniversary was made by us, or when I say made, the Kickstarter campaign was made by a Spanish company, but it seemed like they went into it with no permission from anybody and just assumed they could make it, and were then slapped down unceremoniously by the IP owners. So this is what they tried to launch, and technically you can still order it on their website, but they've got no official release date. So you're pretty much just throwing your money away, according to some, if you do that. So here was their vision of HeroQuest. Let's have a look at some of the images. So they've even got fancy bookcases. Heroes and monsters. Have they got any close-ups of any of this stuff? Looks like some of the, they've got an ogre in there, so they were planning to add some new spicy content to it.
So what happened with this? It didn't work out?
Well, it's kind of in limbo, but people just assume it's obviously not going to happen now, because there's an official HeroQuest coming now, and this has been sitting there for the last 7 years, with people still able to pay money, but without the possibility of really receiving a product at the moment. So, and these were some of the comments that came up. This was just before it was pulled. So this would have been about 7 years ago. So ignore where it says 1 minute ago, because this is with the Internet Archive. So you can see people saying delayed. Did I miss update 3, or has it been delayed? And then, let's see, were people enthusiastic about this? It's interesting to look at this. You go to the internet or the web archive and then type in HeroQuest 25th anniversary and look at all this. It's quite a fascinating look back at the excitement levels of the community peaking, and then suddenly it starts to dip when you realise, wait a minute, there might be something a bit dodgy going on here and maybe this isn't going to happen. So it's quite an interesting chronicle through history, this thing. I assume you didn't hear about this at the time.
No, I didn't. But Raphael Perry, thanks, Raphael. Game Zone's HeroQuest was in a rather weird legal situation. They managed to get the rights to sell, and then, oh bloody hell, it's moved up in the comments. They managed to get the right sell the game in Spain because of some tricky Spanish legal loophole. Loophole, I think it means. Yes, loophole. And then there's more stuff about Baby Jelly. People want him back. Can you make that happen, Andy? Well, I want him back. Let's get Baby Jelly back on the show. Let's have him as a special guest. Okay. That's that. Remove Remington. It says remove Remington in the chat.
Who says remove Remington?
I don't know.
Is that a suggestion from the audience on how to increase our viewership?
Rem's $1 million idea is HEROQUEST. No, it was ZeroQuest. That was my $1 million idea. ZeroQuest.
Well,
Let's form a gang and let's put this up on Kickstarter. ZeroQuest. What do you think? Wouldn't it be, we can all earn some bucks. I could be the concept design, Andy. You could do the writing.
So I could do the work, you could come up with the name, essentially.
Nicky could do some nice photographs and make it look, appealing and that. And then I'm sure we could get some other members there to chip in with their talents. Could all do well out of that.
More realistically, I think we could do that as a follow-up to the Forest of Rem, where you're the Dungeon Master. I think that could actually happen, more likely than the Kickstarter.
Well, if people want that, I'm willing to be the Dungeon Master. But be prepared for a rough ride, Andy, because it ain't going to be easy. This is going to be like death mode.
Well, am I allowed to roll dice off camera again, like you do, and then, the dice landed on its edge? It must have been a 1, presumably, when that happens.
Nicky Jones says she'll do the pictures. There's a picture of an old lady being helped by a carer.
Certainly is.
Where did that come from? Did Baby Jelly do that? You must have done that.
Can you even read the text on your tiny screen?
Yes, I can. Remington used to know the Warhammer rules. Sure, Grandma. Let's get you to bed. Oh, man.
How many years has it been since you would say you were fluent with the Warhammer rules?
Which ones?
Any.
I think I did, I was all right with Warhammer 8th edition, even though I had a 7th edition rule book. And I didn't realise that until I joined a club. So, I lost that game, by the way. So I think I did pretty well. And then, you kept bugging me to be on your show.
You're already firing out content left and right about halflings and beastmen all over the internet. You sounded vaguely knowledgeable.
you thought I would, I would enhance your show stats, and in fact, I'm actually making it worse.
Well, you scared off that one guy. Let's see. If that guy's still watching, if I kick Remington off the show permanently, will you resubscribe? That's what I want to know.
Of course you will, man. We need the Baby Jellies in this world. Who doesn't want a Baby Jelly? I want Baby Jelly. What is it? What is Baby Jelly, anyway?
So, HEROQUEST. At the moment, it's only available to order in North America on the crowdfunding site. I would assume that at retail it will end up worldwide, though. So if people really want to get their hands on it. If anything, it makes me want to go out and look on eBay and buy the original, though. Because those old classic miniatures, there is something about them that isn't quite captured in the new ones.
There's gold in them hills.
Is that true? Is GW's stock up again at an all-time high, or has it dropped?
It was until bloody yesterday. And then, there was new COVID fears have just sent the stock market plummeting once more. So
you didn't see that coming, and you've held on to your stock. Do you think you've held it too long?
I made a promise, Andy. Made a promise to all you guys. I said I'd hold them all for a year. I'd hold my gold for a year.
So if I have a word with someone at GW and tell them that in precisely 1 year after your initial investment, make sure that the stock is at an all-time low.
They're saying another 6 months potential lockdown. I
Yeah,
can't
that's one of
take
the
it.
little news headlines I've put on the scrolling text bar there. And that could scupper some people's hopes for returns to wargaming events and tournaments and in-person gaming. Now, in-person gaming is, of course, still possible when done safely and within the confines of somebody's home, for instance. But if we are spiralling towards another full-on lockdown, if they're just easing us into it gently, this country, because they fear that if they just come out and say, right, we're in lockdown, then the people will rebel because they're so sick of it. And they think if they just do it bit by bit, they'll get people used to the idea again. That's a concern some people have, which could put a dagger into the heart of some people's wargaming hobbies.
Well, it's not put any dagger into Games Workshop's IP, because I've been watching Necromunda on YouTube, and you can watch all the cutscenes on one YouTube. It's like an hour's worth, and it's really good. I've been really enjoying that. I think I've got like 10, 15 minutes into it, and I had to go. But yeah, it looks good, man. I'd like to play that. Yes.
It
And
certainly
I've got-
looks very nice.
It does, doesn't it? I want it, but my computer doesn't work.
Have you assembled all your Escher models yet?
Done 5 out of 10. Done
Not
5.
1 in 100, but 5 out of 10.
1 in 100, no. 5 out of 10. They're really nice. They're very finely detailed, and they're very small, these clan Eschers. I've never painted a 40k miniature before, so it's going to be a new adventure for me. But yes, I've just got to finish this Beast Grave, what they're called, Witch Elves, Daughters of Cain thing. Done one of them, got 4 left, and then I'm going to get onto Necromunda stuff.
Wozgob is suggesting a new section for the show, a new segment, Andy's Insider Trading. We could follow that up immediately after Remington's Millions each week, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Hello?
think it's time for the second most popular segment on the internet today. So, when you return from this snappy intro song for the following segment, you will be greeted with a picture, and you're going to have to tell me what the hell it is. So, let's get that video rolling.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it Sigmar's beard or Neferata's hat? Oh, what the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? Is it a mangled squig or a sorcerer's rat? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know.
Okay, folks, there it is. So, as you can see, it's clearly an infamous scene from the Hobbit trilogy. And there's a big pile of gold with clearly a dragon's eye in it. But if you draw your attention to the left side of the screen, you'll see that some of that gold looks a little bit out of place. What miniature is that from? I think this is a tricky one. What do you think, Mr. Remington?
What do I think that is? That's the dragon's eye, isn't it? Poking out of the mountain of gold.
Yes.
That's what I'd say it was. What else am I supposed to be seeing then?
But what is that pile of gold there on the left that looks a little bit out of place?
Is it a chainmail shirt?
Well, it might be.
Is it a rooftop?
I can tell you right now that it's not a rooftop. It is from a miniature, and I can tell you exclusively that it is infantry. see. Raphael says, looks like high elf armor to me. It could certainly be.
Is it dwarf ironbreakers or something like that?
Is not dwarven. Raphael says the scales look a bit too small for the infamous 4th edition single part plastic high elves. Bad Squiddo Games. Annie says high elf skirt or horse barding. Well, some people are on kind of the right track here, but we need the specific name of the unit. And in fact, as soon as I say that, Mickey pops up with the answer. So,
wow, Mickey's won for once.
there you go.
1 in 100.
Phoenix Guard.
Well done. Mickey, you've got to do a 1 in 100 for us now.
We'll take your word for it that it's been done. We don't have to see it.
Okay, send us a picture. I was typing that, said Bad Squiddo Games. Yay. Okay. Well done, Mickey. Yeah, well done. You've beaten some very knowledgeable hobbyists there. So yeah, well done. We used to give prizes, didn't we? Maybe
Yeah,
that's
back when we had prizes. If anyone wants an exclusive look into this show's behind the scenes and history, this show did have various sponsors over the years, back in the day. And each time we gained a sponsor, I said, because people would approach us and say, can I sponsor your show? I would say, okay, you could give us some prizes because we do this game called What the Hell Is That? And we could give something away there. But I will warn you, sponsoring this show is very unlikely to generate you any additional sales. We don't seem to have the kind of audience that spends money on anything. I warned every single person that sponsored the show that it wouldn't generate them any extra sales, and they still insisted to give it a try. They thought, why not give away a couple of things and see how it goes? And then after a few weeks, they said, I don't think we can do it anymore. It's not generating me any sales. I warned you. Oh.
I remember one time, Andy, we had a few prizes to dish out and send, and you nominated that I send the prizes that were going to be sent to Australia.
That is true.
And that's why I stopped doing it.
And also, though, since then, we have run our most successful promotion, as Annie rightly points out, with Bad Squiddo Games. If you look in the description, there's a code that you can enter when placing an order, which will guarantee you a free chicken with every order. And unlike all our other show sponsorships and promotions, this has actually been somewhat useful to the company in question. And several orders have actually gone out containing one of those chickens. So we are generating untold sales, Bad Squiddo Games.
I mean, if it weren't for our sponsor, Bad Squiddo Games, we wouldn't. I don't even know if this show would still be on. Because you know what I mean. You'd have no place to live, would you?
Potentially. Speaking of which, I can exclusively reveal that the Bad Squiddo Games hub right here, which is essentially this house, is being used to create some foul-smelling cabbage product in another part of the house that I'm staying away from right now.
It sounds like a vegetarian idea.
Sounds something like that. It's all a bit too meatless for my liking. Got confirmation in the chat, yes.
Boiled sauerkraut. I can't even say it.
So I may have to barricade myself in here to avoid the stench.
So she's pounding cabbage. Good for digestion. The sponsors bailed out after one of Rem's new hairstyles made its first appearance. How rude. Okay.
Well,
that was pretty snazzy. There must be some Age of Sigmar stuff, right?
You would think, but it's actually been incredibly slow lately for Age of Sigmar. And if there was anything new, then I would be saving it for next week when there's no HeroQuest to talk about.
Well,
we're scraping the bottom of the Age of Sigmar barrel over the last few weeks because they haven't really given us anything to sink our fangs into. we're going to have to get creative with the topics again. I think people really liked some of the off-topic shows that we did, and even that delving adventure into dwarven history that we did. People liked that as well.
They like that. We
So
did
we
an
could do
elf
something like that. Maybe we should do a halfling episode. You know all about the halflings, don't you?
Well, yeah, I've got bloody loads of them in one of those cabinets. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Annie says, have Annie back on. We can certainly do that. I'll have to come up with a topic, probably not halflings, for that week. Brad says, did you guys ever do army reviews?
That's a good one. We could do that. I'm sure we did.
I'm
In
sure.
great detail. And
when,
used to read stats.
When all the new armies were dropping, we used to go through the stats in intimate detail and give our thoughts on whether it would kick serious butt or have its butt seriously kicked. Unfortunately, as we didn't play the game as much, that section became less and less informed and more phoned in as it went along. So we kind of ditched that. We would like to start playing these games again, though. Steve says, how about Mantic's new ship game? Yes, it looks very similar to Manowar.
Oh, I thought you said something else then. Okay.
So it does look vaguely interesting. Mantic's new Armada game. We've been talking about that quite a lot.
Oh, Armada, not Amanda. Okay.
I was kind of waiting for you to say something there, but I feel like the silence went on too long.
I think everyone's down, isn't they? Because we might be suffering another lockdown. It's just terrible. It's terrible for hospitality, terrible for like events, you know. But so when I talk about Games Workshop shares, it's pretty incredible that the company is actually doing better than it's ever done, despite the fact it's not been able to sort of promote itself at any like events, right? Apart from like online stuff. So
I did manage to get someone in this house to play a couple of Kings of War games, though, safely, of course, fully masked up with hand sanitizer everywhere the other day.
How did it go?
It went quite well, and if people want to find out precisely how it went, they can check out the battle reports on those games. Can't be giving away spoilers. So theoretically, as long as neither of our towns are plunged into a lockdown, then we could at some point get some kind of gaming action in safely.
I know. Did I mention I'm selling my ogres?
I don't think you did, actually.
I mentioned.
Are they on eBay?
They're on eBay. They're the best painted army you'll find on eBay, and I put them on my Facebook, put them on Instagram. It got like hundreds and hundreds of likes, so it must be good, right?
That's how it works.
And do you know the minute the show started, I actually got an offer. So I'd have to look at that and see if it's worth my while or if it's disgraceful for all the many years and hours I put into it. But, you know, I need some more space over in Chateau de Reims for more miniatures. Okay, so to do that, I have to say goodbye to one of the greatest armies that's ever been displayed on a table. It's never lost a game, my ogres. Never lost. They beat Vince Venturella. They beat Andy on countless occasions. It speaks for itself.
I'm pretty sure they've only played about 5 games, so it's not that amazing a streak.
It's been blessed, okay? It's never been defeated. What can I say? It's got everything you want. It's got a bit of everything.
He says, was the ogre offer from Australia?
No, I had one from Canada. So that was like £100 to send it over, so it was just not possible.
Well, for a high-value luxury item like an expertly painted ogre army, then maybe people are willing to pay that little extra bit to get it sent to them. Especially in these turbulent times.
This guy wasn't, so that's that. There you are. I bought a new car, so I have to fund a new car. Can you guess what sort of car I got? What make?
There you go, folks. Guess what kind of car, what brand. You should have taken a picture of a tiny little piece of the car and photoshopped it into a picture of a battle. And then we had to guess what kind of car it is from that. Just a picture of the headlight or something. Steering wheel.
Oh my God. Someone got it right straight away.
What is it?
Well, hold on. I'm not going to give that away right now, am I? We've had a Tesla. David, you're a man after my own heart, but I'm not that flash with cash just yet for a Tesla. Steve Evans says BMW. Mickey Jennifer says Doofwagon. I don't know what that is, but it sounds good. A Ferrari, says Rafael Maj. But the first and correct answer was a Jaguar. So well done, Wasgob. I have a Jag.
What colour is it?
It's silver grey. You have to say, would you the Jag? Got a Jag.
Now, Mr. Remington, do you have an instrument handy? Because I think it's time for... We've already had the second most popular segment on the internet today. But I think it's time for number one, which might be the most exciting, thrilling installment yet, because you've got 5 names to remember.
I have five characters that you introduced in last week's show.
Yes, you got one of them killed, so it's only 4 actually.
It's 4. So these are mercenaries that I've hired from a market to accompany me on this impossible quest.
Impossible quest to topple your supremely powerful future descendant.
I may not remember the names right now, but I do remember what they do. I've got like a female assassin witch elf who slaughtered this mad dog guy.
So you kind of remember the name. So the character that was slaughtered was Mad Dog Billy Beeswax.
Yes, he had to die because I had to get the mercenaries to prove how much they wanted to join my crew.
Yes, and that was Deirdre Doomslayer, the character that did that.
Well, the Doomslayer got in the crew. Then we had a dwarf engineer who was able to drill through a tree to prove his engineering skills.
And that was Derek Dangler.
Yes. And then we had, was it a little halfling type man?
A little rogue by the name of Little Tommy Tidgeball.
Little Tommy Titchball, and he stole a necklace around my neck, which was the test that I gave him. And he not only stole that, but he stole something else. I can't remember what it was.
Your dignity.
Yes.
And your heart.
So there's one more, isn't there? There's one more in the crew. I think it's going to be someone strong.
It was the Beast. And unless I'm totally misremembering, it's quite a small little lady who was able to transform into some kind of horrible, grotesque creature with incredibly powerful arms.
What's not to like about that?
There you go. So okay, some kind of like shape-shifting, maybe vaguely werewolfian type character.
I've got the Beast. Okay, I've got the Beast. I can't remember the other names, but I remember what they do. Deirdre, let's go on the road. Let's start our adventure.
I'm going to bring up the Forest of Rem picture. There we go.
Yeah.
Available on merchandise now at the Redbubble shop in the description. And have you got an instrument for the intro song?
Yes, I have an instrument and I'm willing to play it.
Okay, observe as Remington gathers his instrument. Here it comes. Go.
Is that working?
Let's try your technique. I'm going to mute myself on the call and see if that helps you.
Mm-hmm. baby jelly. Baby jelly, come back to the forest of Ram, to the forest of Ram, where boys become men in the forest of Ram. Is it a chicken or is it a hen? You decide when and when in the forest of Ram. In the forest of Ram.
Indeed. So, as our audience recalls, last week, Remington set about gathering his forces for the final showdown. With the future Remington the Ever-Chosen, 4 comrades were gathered. However, you may also remember that during the process of testing their abilities, testing their mettle, to see if they were worthy of joining him on this quest, our hero and his comrades angered the locals a little bit. They kind of destroyed, killed, decapitated just a little bit of decapitation going on, and the peasants weren't too thrilled with this. The stall owners surrounded our heroes, pitchforks, torches, angry words are being hurled in their direction. None of them bear repeating. They're also foul. So, Mr. Remington, you have your... Let's have a look at my little sheet here. You've got Little Tommy Tidgeball, the Beast, Derek Dangler, and Deirdre Doomslayer. All around you, you're surrounded by peasants, an angry mob, if you will. How are you going to get out from this?
Okay, I've got an
Are you
idea.
going to use diplomacy or swift violence?
No, I've seen this on loads of 80s films. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get us all to hold hands and make a circle, and like in a show of unity. And then there's going to be some kind of like vortex that makes us like disappear, and like appear like on the road somewhere away from trouble.
Okay.
It's like I try it like a pep talk kind of thing.
Okay, first of all, let's hear how you would put it to your comrades. How are you going to pitch this idea to them to get them to hold hands with you? Because some of them are quite ferocious.
Okay. Well, I don't know what they say in American football when they go in a huddle, but I imagine it's something like, right, we hold hands and then just gather round and just say like, this is our one shot, guys. We're in this together. Let's say a little prayer to baby Jesus or something, and then, okay, Beast, do your thing and get us out of here.
So you think Beast is the one who's going to get you out of this mess?
Yes, I think maybe she can create a giant sphere around us and we can just sort of float away protected.
So you think she's the one who's got some kind of innate magical ability that could help you get out of this?
Someone's got to step up. Come on.
Okay.
That's all
So I'm going to ask you to roll the dice right now.
and I will do that.
This is to see how inspiring you were to your comrades. Your freshly recruited comrades, might I add, although they've already killed people in your name.
Are you ready? Remington. Cut dice.
I'm not sure I
Remington.
believe that.
Cut dice. It's a 2. I rolled a 2, okay?
Okay, it's a 2. So, your comrades aren't particularly persuaded by this. So, rather than holding hands, Beast seems to have a little idea of her own. So I'm going to ask you to roll another dice now. I'm not going to tell you what
Okay.
it's for, but it is going to influence what happens next.
I think any idea at this moment is better than mine. I'm going to use the famous skull dice now. What could possibly go wrong? Remington. Oh my God, it's another 2.
It's another 2, that's not very good, I'm afraid. So, the Beast decides to take it upon herself because of Remington's lackluster leadership. She really needs to stamp her authority on this group and on this community. and raises her hands to the air. And almost Popeye on spinach like, the muscles kind of bulge out of the arms. She starts spinning in a bit of a 360 motion, knocking peasants left and right, creating a path through the mob. Heads are flying everywhere, pitchforks are snapping in half as they attempt to prod this whirling, mutated, bulbous, muscular death machine.
Okay, I'm going to shout, follow the beast.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask you to roll the dice again now to see how quickly you head through this mob.
And I will do so. Follow Remington. It's a 5.
That's not bad, actually. So Remington leads the rest of his comrades through the gap in the mob caused by this whirling death beast. Left nothing but blood and guts and carnage and strewn fabric and misery in her wake. So you've made it to the outskirts of the mob now. However, they do start to close in on you towards the end, and you're not going to be able to make it to the city gates without a bit of a fight. So you can see that there are gates in the distance. However, the mob is at your back. If you were to try and run away from them, it's likely that at least a couple of your comrades would be caught and end up having to fight their way out. So, whether you run, risk leaving people behind, or will you turn around and try and fight off the first wave before you make a break for it?
This is a good point to maybe sacrifice one of the team for the benefit of the mission.
Okay, so you're going to just make a run for it.
Yes.
So, Remington and all his comrades sprint towards the city gate as fast as they can under his leadership. First of all, roll the dice to see how fast Remington himself is travelling.
Hopefully, I'm going to be the first through them gates.
I'm not going to tell you if 1 or 6 means fast yet.
I got a 5.
Okay,
So
I'll make a note of that.
you,
And then roll the dice for little Tommy Tidgeball.
little Tommy Titchball, is not looking good. But he rolled a 3.
3. Okay. Then roll the dice for the Beast.
The beast rolls a 3.
3 for the Beast. And another for Derek Dangler.
Rolls a 3.
Okay. And Deirdre Doomslayer.
Doomslayer rolls a 1.
Ooh, that's a bit dangerous. So, Remington, with his history of fleeing from danger, he seems to be quite sharp on his feet, makes it to the city gate quite easily. His 3 short comrades are there shortly after him, moving their little legs as fast as they can go. However, Deirdre does not quite make it there in time and is enveloped by the crowd. You see skulls and blood flying out, but you can't tell whether Deirdre has been successful in fighting off this 150 strong mob of angry peasants. So you're going to have to make the choice now. Are you going to start heading somewhere else to safety? Are you going to maybe wait it out and see whether Deirdre can slaughter the entire town, or are you going to head back in there and help?
I will shout to Deirdre. I'll say, hold him off, Deirdre, and we'll meet you inside.
Inside where?
Inside the pub. Inside the tavern. That's where the adventurers go, isn't it?
The tavern. Do you have a particular tavern in mind that you're going to shout out?
The Half Moon and Craddock.
The Half Moon and Craddock.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how loud you manage to shout this message and whether it makes it through. Roll the
Remington,
dice.
meet me at the Half Moon and Craddock. It's a 2.
It's not very loud at all. In fact, only one peasant seems to hear what you said. He says, "The Half Moon and Craddock? After him!" And a small band of peasants actually start making their way towards this tavern, which is located just outside the town.
Can I just tell them to tell that to Deirdre?
No, they're angry. They've got a thirst for your blood. It looks like you're going to have to abandon Deirdre and hope that she makes it.
Okay, she'll be all right.
Okay, so outside the city gates, there is a stream for the boat. Looks like it's big enough for all of you. There's also a cart pulled by a couple of horses. The merchant who was on the cart previously is in the bushes taking care of some business. So you could either take the boat or steal the cart. Presumably you'd be stealing the boat as well, but you can't see anyone around who owns the boat. It's a rowboat.
I fancy a ride. Let's go on the cart.
Okay, who is going to be up front holding the reins and who is going to be sitting in the back?
Well, let's see. Who among our party would be good at this task? The Beast, Little Tommy, Dwarf. Yeah, the Dwarf would be good at this sort of thing, I think. He'd be a good cart runner.
Derek Dangler. Okay, Derek Dangler takes his position at the front of the cart, holds onto the reins, and as everyone else piles into the back, pushing out crates of apples, the merchant looks up from the bushes, gives a quick, "Oi, you, that's my cart!" as you peel away into the sunset, away from the angry mob, away from the city.
Okay. Well, I've got to save the world.
Certainly have. So, after several hours of travel, night falls. And you set up camp for the night in a clearing, because this road that you've been travelling on has gone from cobbles to just a bit of a dirt track through the woods now. And you're still not entirely sure where you're going, but you're under the impression that vaguely, if you just keep moving, something will come along and guide you in the right direction, as it usually does. So you set up camp in this clearing. You still have a couple of crates of food on this cart. Would you like to open them up?
Absolutely. Let's see what we got here.
Okay, one of them is full of pig carcasses. The other is full of boiled cabbage slosh.
Oh, okay. Well, let's roast the pork.
So you're just neglecting the cabbage, just turning your nose up at the cabbage and heading straight for the flesh.
Yeah, we'll give the cabbage to the horses. They've done most of the work today.
Okay. Feeding the cabbage to the horses doesn't seem to kill them, so you're quite satisfied with that course of action. And set yourself a little fire in the woods, roast up a pig, and dig in. Which part of the pig are you going to start with?
The ear, the pig's ear.
You're going to eat the ear, you're going to have a nice chew on that.
Yes, I have nibbled.
Okay, roll the dice.
Okay, I bet this is a magical pig's ear. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Roll the dice. Remington. It's a 2.
It's a 2 as Remington attempts to chew on this magical pig's ear. In fact, it's so tough that he accidentally half swallows it and starts to choke uncontrollably next to the fire. Now, if you'd rolled a 1, think how bad it would have been. So, as this happens, his party members gather round him, and the light before your eyes starts to dim until everything turns black. Suddenly, there is a blinding light in front of you. As you awake, you're on a mysterious, featureless plain. As you look up, you see a large pair of eyes looking down on you. Nothing around you, you're totally naked, you have no belongings.
Where's my team?
Well, there's nothing else here right now.
Oh, man.
Do you have anything to say to these huge eyes that have appeared above you?
Then where's my friends?
The eyes look down at you and a mouth opens below them. Your friends live, Remington. You have choked to death on a pig's ear. Some might say you made a real pig's ear of chewing that pig's ear. Ha 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 ha.
Your adventure ends here.
It could well do. So what have you got to say for yourself?
I think we did all right. I got my team out of there. We stole a horse and cart. We made progress.
Remington, because your quest is so vitally important, I offer you the chance to redeem yourself and bring yourself back to.
Okay.
Will you accept?
Yes, I'll hedge my bets.
I have a riddle for you, Remington.
Oh, no, I hate riddles. Okay, go on then.
Answer me this riddle and you shall be returned to life.
What if I get it wrong?
That does not bear thinking about, you silly. Here it comes. When is a door not a door?
Not a door. When it's a window. I'm just thinking out loud there. That's not an answer. Checking the chat. When it's a jelly baby?
I assume this isn't your real answer either.
No. When is a door not a door? When is a door?
Anyone in the audience want to help?
Is a door. The door is a door. But when?
I want to look in the chat.
When it's a wall. Says Annie. When it's open. Yeah, that's a great answer. When it's sauerkraut. Oh God. When it's a door. When it's a jar.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, Boyd Captain Bazooka.
You are correct, Remy. Master of riddles, you are.
Yes,
I will grant you life, but on one condition. When you find Remington the Ever-Chosen at the top of Mount, must cut off his head and cast it into the well of.
Hold on, say that again. There's something about horse heads.
Must decapitate Remington the Ever-Chosen at the top of Mount and drop his head into the well of.
Okay. That doesn't sound pleasant.
If you do not do this, your life will be forfeit. All your progress will be erased.
Okay. Where do I find him? Again? On the Mount Cook?
Yes. Suddenly there is another
me?
flash of light, and you return to your body. So you sit up, surrounded by your comrades in the woods, a look of realization over you. A pig's ear ejected into the fire.
Oh, sizzling.
Would you like to share any news with your comrades?
I will tell them what happened, word for word.
Well, they look at you in disbelief, but they are aware of what a fantastical journey that you've been on, as your name does precede you. And they seem to be quite receptive to your words. So, and in fact, little Tommy Tidgeball has heard of this mountain. It lies to the west, on the other side of the forest. He suggests that it's perhaps only a few days' carts travel from there. Will you be heading straight there, or is there anything else you would like to do?
I think because there's literally nothing else to do, let's just do that.
Very well. At first light, Remington and his merry band of followers head through the woods. Little Tommy Tidgeball, not Timmy, that's his brother. Little Tommy Tidgeball informs you that you've made it about halfway to the mountain. You can actually see a mountain peak emerging from the clouds. However, all is not well, because within the forest you've noticed an ever-increasing number of tiny eyes looking at you from the bushes. try to speed up, get past them, but they grow more and more numerous. Chittering can be heard. And it seems like eventually you'll have to make a choice. Whether to do something about this, retreat, or perhaps something else, some other strange decision that only a Remington could make. And that saved time. Bum 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 bum. So, there you go. Top-notch, spicy role-playing, dice-rolling content there.
That was brilliant. Do you know, in films, right, it reminded me of when someone gives someone some instructions or tells them an address and they never write it down. They just seem to remember it. I can never remember that stuff. Okay.
That is a fair assessment of films. I think people's memories are usually unrealistically strong.
That was good. I enjoyed that. I think I made some good choices, and I rolled really badly, but still managed to get through. So
yeah, you've left Deirdre Doomslayer behind with the baying crowd, but who knows what happened to her? Maybe she made it out. She's quite ferocious.
And also, someone decided to throw some money into the Andy and Rem show to keep this thing alive, which is really lovely.
Speaking of which, if people want to keep this channel afloat, then do feel free to drop all your cash on it. Because why wouldn't you? If this is the kind of quality, spicy entertainment, in these tough and turbulent times, the one lighthouse in a sea of misery and despair, then surely when you're sailing your ship, you want to keep that lighthouse glowing bright against the night sky so you can avoid the rocks of bad stuff.
Reinvest it in the channel.
Yes. Anyway, if you've got any high quality memes that you feel like creating at Remington's expense, like the one you can see right here, then feel free to drop them on the Discord server, which is linked in the description. There's also all kinds of fundraising sources down there and various social media links. The Redbubble merchandise has been flying off the shelves, Forest of Rem t-shirts, Andy and Rem Show mugs, all kinds of juicy stuff. And let's see, so let's have a look at the episode thumbnail again as we start to wind this one down. Because a lot of effort goes into photoshopping these things. Look at the beautiful head placement there. So of course Remington is the dwarf, naturally. And I am, of course, the wizard. With unequal might and power. Magical department. I didn't feel like anyone should be the barbarian. Mainly because the pose didn't really match the positions of our heads. So that's the only reason, really. And of course, anyone who is a patron for this channel personally can get a thanks at the end of each episode by pledging to a certain level, which is specified on the Patreon page. And the following people this week are at that pledge level, so they will get their personal thanks right now because they're so special. Way more special than regular audience members, in fact. So extra special thanks to the following people: Graham, Tim, Eric, Brad, Barbara, and Guy. All of you, very special indeed. Arguably more special and more important to this show than Remington. It's a debate that can be had. And HEROQUEST, it's been a while since it was in the headlines. And the last batch of headlines weren't particularly nice, with the Spanish attempt at relaunching HEROQUEST not really going to plan. So hopefully this one goes a little bit smoother and brings a whole new audience, a whole new generation into this world, and then they will take their first steps on this journey into the tabletop hobby and just become as enthusiastic over the next 30 years as all of us who played it back in the day became once we got our greasy little mitts on it. So that's all we can hope for, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, I think, would you care to say good night, Mr. Remington?
Good night, Mr. Remington.
All that remains for me to say is good night out there, whatever you are.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's